In the Celtic lands, people still speak of creatures their grandparents claimed to see. What if these legends weren't just stories, but memories of real encounters our ancestors couldn't explain? We're examining 6 Celtic creatures that might have actually existed, and the surprising evidence that suggests these myths were based on reality. Number 1. Leprechauns. A farmer in County Cork discovered tiny leather shoes alongside an old oak tree in 1989. The shoes were beautifully made but impossibly small, too small for any human child, yet with unmistakable signs of wear. The original leprechaun wasn't the cheerful mascot we know today. In real Irish mythology, the leprechaun was a solitary fairy and skilled shoemaker who worked alone in remote areas. These creatures were extremely wealthy and notoriously crafty. Medieval Ireland had refined systems of traveling craftsmen dealing with leather, metal, and precious materials. To rural people making do with basic goods, such expertise would have appeared magical. Archaeological excavations reveal highly advanced metalworking techniques and elaborate gold ornamentation, requiring skills passed down through secret family traditions. The physical description of leprechauns as abnormally short men has a real basis. Historical records show certain remote Irish communities had higher incidences of dwarfism due to small gene pools. Meeting a person with dwarfism who possessed unusual talent would have been rare and legendary. The old stories might preserve memories of Ireland's traveling crafts class, exceptionally talented individuals who seem to possess magical abilities and mysterious wealth. Nowadays, leprechauns are mainly tied to Irish fairy lore and poems that spread their image. In media, they've been reimagined widely. From whimsical appearances in The Simpsons and South Park, or even horror-themed figures like the film series 1993 onward. Number 2. Cúisí. In 1743, Scottish landowner Duncan Forbes described meeting a hound of most extraordinary size while hunting near Culloden, an animal silent as death in its approach, with fur so dark it appeared nearly green in the morning mist. The Cúisí, meaning fairy dog in Scottish Gaelic, was said to be enormous, the size of a young bull, with dark green fur. Most ominously, it walked perfectly silently until letting out a bone-freezing howl. Legend said if you heard 3 howls, you'd be paralyzed with fear. The explanation lies in Scotland's natural history. Wolves prospered in the Scottish highlands until the late 18th century, with reports of wolves of phenomenal size. Scottish wolves developed thick winter coats that could look greenish under certain lighting, particularly at dawn and dusk. Green was linked to magic and the supernatural in Celtic culture. Archaeological records show Celtic graves contained massive dogs, bred for strength and size, canines over 150 pounds. The supernatural quietness matches real wolf behavior, naturally silent predators until they decide to howl, producing acoustical effects that seemed supernatural. The Cúisí association with death served a purpose. Large predators trailed battlefields to scavenge, looming as supernatural omens over traumatized survivors. In modern days, the Cúisí mostly features in Celtic folklore collections, fantasy novels, and niche RPG/video game media like Dungeons & Dragons. It retains its darker, eerie role. Number 3. Selkies. In 1850, physician Dr. Robert Chambers recorded instances of what he called seal people in the Shetland Islands. His accounts detail people with unusual physical traits and exceptional ability at swimming in cold water that would be fatal for most humans. Selkie myths describe creatures living double lives, seals at sea, human on land when they shed their magical seal coats. The tales usually end tragically when Selkies regain their stolen skin and return to the sea. Recent genetics research has astounding findings. DNA studies in remote island societies reveal genetic adaptations to harsh aquatic environments. Some Scottish island groups have higher rates of diving reflex syndrome, body physiology, allowing longer breath holding and cold water functionality. Williams-Buren syndrome produces characteristics that are seal-like, large, dark eyes, and full lips. Individuals often exhibit unusual water attraction and natural swimming abilities. The transformation element probably preserves memory of shamanic rituals. Celtic coastal communities performed rituals using seal skins, revering seals as liminal figures between land and sea. Webbed fingers or toes appear in some Selkie tales, a natural occurrence in coastal communities with high intermarriage rates that would have made someone an excellent swimmer. The original Selkie stories could have been based on real people who developed actual physiological adaptations to sea living. Number 4. White Stag. Malcolm MacLeod photographed what appeared to be a white deer in the Scottish Highlands in 1933. The photograph was printed in national papers and initiated a 3-week search with 50 participants. The white stag was never found, though several dozen reported seeing it. Celtic myth gave the white stag distinction as a messenger of the other world, only seen by individuals destined for greatness. The stag was perpetually elusive, always just within reach before disappearing. The white stag has realistic biological roots. Leucism, a genetic condition that reduces melanin, sometimes produces pure white deer. They appear about once in 30,000 births. What's captivating is how their lack of camouflage influences survival. White deer develop better hearing, eyesight, and spatial awareness as an evolutionary adaptation. They become hyper-attentive, sensing humans from much farther away, making them nearly impossible to hunt. Archaeological data reveal that deer were revered in Celtic society. Deer antler headdresses and ritual artifacts appear regularly in burials. Sightings of white deer would have been taken as communications from the gods. Hunting records document several actual white deer. These animals were consistently protected by royal decree and regarded as too sacred to kill. Being preserved and unusual contributed to their mythic status. Number 5. Cait Sith. In 1984, residents near Kellis discovered an unusual feline specimen, bigger than a domestic cat but smaller than a Scottish wildcat, with jet black fur and a striking white chest marking. Locals immediately identified it as a Cait Sith. The Cait Sith was described as a wild animal, black with a white chest spot standing upright and nearly as intelligent as a human. It was said to steal souls from newly dead bodies, appearing at wakes and funeral vigils. The explanation is the Kellis cat, a naturally occurring hybrid between wild cats and domestic cats. These cats become significantly larger than average house cats, with individuals weighing over 20 pounds. Their behavior made Kellis cats seem supernatural. They stand on hind legs to explore, having an unnervingly human posture. They're also more intelligent than ordinary cats, solving challenging problems and operating simple devices. The cat's association with death has practical explanations. Cats naturally seek warm locations, and in homes with recent deaths, they'd be drawn to fireplaces. Since wakes lasted days, large, unusual-looking cats would become significant to mourning families. Modern DNA testing confirms many Scottish cats still contain wildcat genes, creating animals with unusual size, intelligence, and behavioral traits that continue to puzzle owners. The Cait Sith legend features in Scottish folklore as a fey black cat linked to death and Samhain, and in modern fantasy games and anime, where it's often reimagined as a magical cat companion or trickster. A well-known example is Cait Sith from Final Fantasy VII, a cat automaton controlled by a toy Moogle, borrowing the name from the legend. Number 6. Banshee. In 1948, a BBC radio team shooting in rural County Mayo recorded an unearthly wailing sound, which seemed to come from nowhere, shifting and fading in intensity, which made our equipment operator physically ill. It was considered too upsetting to broadcast, but it remains in the BBC archives. The Banshee appears in different forms across Celtic society, sometimes as a beautiful young woman, sometimes as an old hag. All performed the same function, announcing death through ghostly wailing. The real explanation is Ireland's professional mourning tradition called keeners. Women sang complex vocal dirges during wakes and funerals. Skilled keeners developed vocal techniques resulting in sounds of uncommon intensity, heard miles away. Some keeners gained seemingly supernatural reputations as foretellers of deaths before official news. This had pragmatic explanations. Trained keeners lived in tight communities where they could sense signs of illness and family strains. There are geological explanations too. Ireland's limestone landscape contains thousands of caves producing eerie acoustics during certain weather patterns, creating wailing sounds with no apparent source. Recent sound research has recorded infrasound, sound frequencies below human perception, at locations associated with Banshee reports. Infrasound can elicit sensations of discomfort and the presence of the paranormal. The phenomenon was likely a combination of professional mourning traditions, ambient sound phenomena, and genuine sensitivity some individuals develop when witnessing human mortality patterns. The Banshee features prominently in Irish and Scottish folklore as a death omen, then in 19th century folklore collections and Gothic literature, and today is widely adapted in fantasy novels, horror films, TV shows, comics, and games. She remains one of the most recognizable Celtic mythical beings worldwide. 6 creatures from Celtic mythology. Each legend is perhaps based on real sightings of strange animals, individuals with uncommon genetic characteristics, or natural phenomena interpreted through mythological frameworks. These weren't campfire tales, they were efforts to explain real mysteries. The master craftsman, the great hunter of the mist, the one who could survive impossible oceans, the elusive deer, the human smart hybrid cat, and the howls that portend disaster.